My name is Jack Tunney, and we're coming to you live on tape from the Sandwich Studio in Oceanside, California. It's August 27th, 2020, and we're very excited to be giving you the first video edition of the PB&J Podcast. And it wouldn't have been possible without Jerry Perez and SitRep Media. They were able to help us get the equipment necessary to do the podcast in this format. So, we'd like to take this moment to thank you, Jerry, and all that you have done for us, and the podcast. And to those viewers who are following us from SoundCloud, we're sorry about the break. We had several technical and professional difficulties that had to be worked out before we could record. We wanted to go through the process of moving from audio podcast to video podcast as quickly as possible, but that process ended up being a trial by fire. Nonetheless, we are here to give you our educated opinions on the state of America. To the new viewers, we welcome you. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy. That being said, we have a great show for you today. We'd like to talk about the two national conventions, the California fire season, and the environmental politics of Alaska. All that and more on the PB&J Podcast.
Welcome back to the PB&J Podcast. My name is Peter Whitehead.
Hey, what's up? My name's Brandon.
And I'm Jack Tarman.
And we are here giving you a show on Thursday, August 27th, 2020. And we will be first talking about our first bite. Brandon.
Getting into the first bite section where we kind of try to cover some quick news, some things that, don't really need the full deep dive, but, we usually do hit them with a deep dive a little bit later. Mm-hmm. So first we wanted to talk about the dual hurricane situation that happened in the Texas Gulf of Mexico. So basically there was two separate tropical storms that were about to hit the Texas area and then the Louisiana area at the same time over the same week, which is something that apparently hasn't happened since the 1930s, the Great Depression era. How'd you guys feel about that fact? I thought that was
trippy. It's like increasingly crazy to me, like these climate disasters that are happening.
Yeah.
Like it just seems more and more apparent that what these climate scientists have been talking about for 20 some years, right? Since Al Gore popularized it.
Sure. But even before that.
Yeah, even before that. And they've been saying these things and they've been saying these things are going to happen and now they're happening and people are still denying, they're still doubting. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. Or just don't even know it exists, or just it's easier to discredit it than to take it seriously.
Definitely.
It's just indicative of the darker times that we live in the 20s, right? It's just another thing to add to tick onto the box. We got, dual hurricanes.
Yeah, it looks like they kind of ended up hitting separately. One kind of more fizzled out, and then Hurricane Laura ended up gaining a lot more strength, turning into a category 5, category 4, category 5. It kind of went up and down, back and forth. But luckily, what seemed to happen was that it hit kind of like a wildlife area, like a nature reserve. It didn't hit any of the population centers like Galveston, Texas, or Lake Charles in Louisiana, because it was supposed to hit these places kind of head on. So luckily, it
kind of moved off. There was still insane damage in those cities, though.
Oh yeah,
and they were saying 20-foot storm surges.
20-foot storm
which
surge.
Is that's the top of a 2-story building.
Yeah.
So anything that was below 2 stories in those coast towns were drowned by this hurricane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is Thursday, like I said, so we don't have all the information to the extent of the damage and the extent of lives lost and that sort of thing. But we do know that this is projected to be one of the worst hurricanes that's hit the continental U.S. So,
I mean, the wind was going 150 miles per hour. That's...
Yeah, it's insane. Next subject, we had another situation with an unarmed black man who was unjustly shot by police officers.
It's reckless police work right there.
Reckless police. And something that strikes me, I want to say this at the beginning, something that strikes me about this situation is there has never been more attention on police brutality than there is right now. And yet, this cop still stood there and shot that guy 7 times in the back with all of those witnesses, his kids in the car, right? Like, this is them on their best behavior. Like, with the entire nation watching, this is what they do. I think that's crazy.
Or perhaps because there's more people watching, we're seeing more of it. Who knows? It could be either or.
In that video, to me, it seems like he kind of like walks around the car, you know.
He's clearly not following orders.
He looks and like looks behind him and kind of checks the scene. He can see that there's no one on the street back there. So I feel like, and the video that like everybody's watching, it looks like it's kind of from inside the house, kind of behind a screen door. So this person that's recording it wasn't visible at that exact moment. So if you like, a lot of other times, if like a cop will look and there's a person right there, he is less willing to, you know, shoot. But when you find out that the cops in Kenosha aren't required to wear body cams, and he definitely felt like he was gonna get away with that, you know. He felt like in control. But like, to me, it's just terrible police work. Like, if that man is a threat, then why aren't you doing your 100% duty to restrain him, like, and stop him from getting back to the car? Like,
yeah, he walked like unobstructed
around
to the car. Yeah.
Around.
Cops behind him, but unobstructed. Like, nobody tried to stop him from doing what he was doing until that final moment when he was trying to get into the car. Then they shot him.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
It's
an
almost
intense
like
video.
they were waiting for an excuse to use lethal force, and then they found it as soon as he entered his vehicle.
Yeah, I
You know, saying stuff like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you," or stuff like that. I can even imagine it.
For sure.
Obviously, I'm not saying that that's what they said, but it could be the mentality. I don't know.
You know, I think cops are waiting for that confrontation where they do have, you know, the iffy room, you know, where they can say that this man was fighting back, or you know, he had an arrest warrant, or he had committed crimes in the past.
Jacob Blake is his name. I'm not sure if we've said it yet.
Oh yeah, we definitely didn't give enough like pre-details, but yeah, Jacob Blake from Kenosha, Wisconsin. He's still alive, which I think is...
Well, that's the difference in this situation compared to some of the other situations that we've seen in the past. This guy gets to tell his story.
Yeah.
Right? This guy gets to say, oh, this is the interaction I had with the police. This is what they said to me. This is what I did. This is the action that I took. None of these other guys were able to say that, you know? So, or talk about it at all, you know? So, I think that difference will definitely play a role in how this situation will unfold.
Yeah.
So as far as I know, he was breaking up a fight.
So what the reporting is, and the reporting is
iffy
at best, but the reporting is that there was a call to the house by a woman who said that her boyfriend was there and that he shouldn't be there.
We don't know who the boyfriend is.
We don't know who the boyfriend is. And what the guy who was recording, or the guy who claimed to be recording, said was that he heard a fight between 2 women across the street.
There was like a group of women arguing, which I think was also separate from the call, maybe?
It's very iffy. So
this is all still like...
We don't know a lot about this, but what we do know is that this caused extreme unrest in the city.
I think it's... The police has a responsibility to hop on, you know, Twitter or whatever that same night and say, hey, there was a video posted, like... This is like, why wouldn't they come out and, you know, clear the air? It's because they do feel some sort of legal responsibility. It's because they do know that officer was in the wrong. And like, that's the kind of stuff that needs to be reformed, you know? Like, why are they allowed to hold these informations, do these internal investigations, that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that is, you know, said by police reformists, people who want to reform the way that policing is done, is that the investigations should be done by independent outside
citizen
like oversight boards, right? I think that that's a pretty good idea. Handling it internally. If you're investigating a guy who works across the building from you, who maybe you've had a cup of coffee with, maybe you know their family, like that's like a lot different, and you might treat that differently than you would that if you were investigating somebody you thought murdered somebody, without cause. So yeah, I think that would be a good step forward with everything that we're talking. I wanted to very quickly, because we're kind of going long on this one, but I wanted to talk about too the unrest on it, that was caused by this incident. So
yeah, absolutely. I saw a protest in LA. There were a line of police officers that were blocking protesters from exiting a tunnel. They had basically blocked them in, and when they were trying to, head out, it stopped the whole protest. And as far as I've heard, following that report, people found an emergency exit halfway through the tunnel to get out. People backed up and fled. But
yeah, that's really dangerous. That's like a trampling situation. Could be a trampling situation.
Well, they started firing.
What? Non-lethal?
Yep.
Jesus. This was LA.
Into
when
the
was
tunnel?
This?
This was last night.
Oh my God. I didn't read that at all. That's crazy.
All protests are trample situations.
True. But yeah, I mean, in the city itself, there was Kenosha. There was extreme unrest. Obviously, lighting fires in the street, that kind of thing. Same thing that we have been seeing from the more violent side of the protesting. In response to that, a young man from out of state came into the city.
We're gonna keep him unnamed, correct?
Yes.
A young man.
I'm not gonna promote him.
A young man.
Yeah.
How old was this man?
He was 17 years old. And
2003 he was born.
Yeah. He came into the town and was there as a militia force to defend the buildings against looting and the rioting that was occurring. This situation is also still very up in the air in terms of reporting, but I have seen some videos.
Do we deep dive right now?
No, I'm just gonna say what happened, and then we'll talk about it later. But
this kid was there, saying that he is an EMT trained, that he is a Black Lives Matter supporter, even though his account says that it's full of Blue Lives Matter stuff.
Trump stuff too.
He was saying that he got interviewed. Surprisingly, I think that's always crazy when someone kind of notable gets interviewed randomly by someone. But this kid was saying that he was there to save lives, to help people as a medic, stop the violence. And then you see him surrounded by crowds yelling with this huge AR, causing this violent image, Of course, anybody is going to come up to this guy with an AR and be like, yo, what are you doing in my neighborhood? Are you from here? Where you live at?
Right.
Straight up civil unrest, anger, and just...
Yeah.
We may break things. We may destroy stores. But if we're shedding blood between ourselves, it's a whole different story.
Well, John Lewis called for good trouble, right? So
yeah.
let's talk about a little bit of the good trouble that is being caused right now. The Milwaukee Bucks led a strike in the NBA, canceling the 3 playoff games that were going to happen this Wednesday. This is, of course, related to Black Lives Matter, and it happened after the shooting of Jacob Blake, and a lot of other major sports leagues, including the MLB, the WNBA, and even the American Soccer League, I believe, canceled games.
The MLS.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, they're causing good trouble, right? They're saying, well, if people are losing their lives, you're going to lose your entertainment this week. You know what I mean? We're not gonna come up on the stage and dance for you when you won't protect us, and you won't protect our people, and you won't protect our interests. And
people just tell us to shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
So now I'm just going to shut up.
And not dribble.
Yeah. Shut up and you'll have to listen to me.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good idea. I think it's time to, look, I think good trouble is a good way to put it. I think it's time to, slow down and put our heads together and get some, more just better efforts, I guess, Like we said a few podcasts ago, it's not a good idea to, throw a Molotov through a window and expect that to change gun reform, you know? I think it's important for people to express their civil unrest, but I think it's also important that we, you know, make change in like other
Real
ways.
change.
Other
Real
ways.
change.
There's a lot of ways to make change.
And
Yes.
nothing makes corporatists shit their pants more.
Like NBA advertising dollars.
Yeah, nothing makes corporatists shit their pants more than their workers going on strike.
General strike, bro.
And it's playoff games too. Like that's
That's huge money.
a big deal.
It's huge
Millions of dollars for advertising. Like, you know,
Yep.
someone's getting a freaking phone call.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I like that type of protest. I think that we might see that more with Americans in general going forward. Some of the protesting that we will see might be more along the lines of, I'm not gonna do the job that you told me to do if I can't even be supported like in other ways. You know what I mean? You won't help me pay my medical bills. You won't make sure I'm not brutalized by police. I'm not gonna go work for your corporatist job. Like, I think we might see that. I don't know if it's like the best idea, but
I
think we
feel like
might
most
see that
people
more.
that support Black Lives Matter, like I feel like most people that watch the NBA probably already support Black Lives Matter.
Oh, so you think they're preaching to the choir?
Well, we're gonna get into it this entire podcast, but
Yes.
I mean, no, I don't think that, but also yes, I think that.
Okay, good. So let's leave it at that. No, we don't think that, and yes, we think that. The next thing we want to talk about in the first bite was that the states, so far, those who have commented on the executive order, have denied outright that it is a meaningful solution to the economic problems that we're facing in this country.
I mean,
Not to mention the fact that it's currently under so many litigations right now that the executive order is never going to stand up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that like in passing. Like I think it's important that people know that Trump's executive order isn't having an impact on your daily lives. These states cannot afford the proposition that he put forward.
I mean, not only that, some states were saying it was only gonna last like 3 weeks.
just to clarify, this is Trump's COVID-19 stimulus executive order that we're talking about, correct?
Yeah, this is the one where he said that he was going to postpone student loan payments, put a moratorium on evictions. All of this stuff has like, fine text, but I won't go into that right now. $400 in unemployment instead of the $600 that the CARES Act did. And what was the fourth thing?
We cannot forget the fourth thing every time.
Is it the?
No,
did you already go over the PPP?
The PPP is the fourth thing. 'Cause I already did the fourth thing that we forgot the other time, which was student loan forgiveness.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
But yeah, so that executive order is toothless. It's not going to do anything to help you and your family.
I mean, not only
And-
is it toothless, it's detrimental to state economies that like literally can't afford.
Yeah,
to
and
do
it's
that.
also detrimental to us getting a real meaningful bill passed because now the Republicans in the Senate can go, well, he signed the executive order. Why do we have to make a deal? And they're just going to stay on their August recess, which they have been for 3.5 weeks now, by the way.
Yeah, I also want to mention something that, states on the topic of states, refusing Trump. A lot of states are refusing the CDC guidelines. And, our state of California just decided to get double our testing capability and cheaper testing. And it's really, really easy to get tested now.
That's good. I like that.
As Trump is saying to, decrease testing and lower the numbers.
Some people say you can do too much testing.
Some people say it, though. And we don't want to vote for those
Yo,
people.
who says that? Which books say that?
Trump says that and then says some people say that. He's the some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and introduce our final section on the first bite. So we're going to go into our first deep dive very soon. In it, we talk about, Peter specifically talks about the Democratic Convention and the Republican National Convention. So we want to talk about an alternative because what you're going to hear in there is a not very positive take on either of them.
Indeed.
There's a lot of cheerleading going on, we'll get into it. But if you want a convention where we're going to be talking about a lot of the policy issues leading forward, a lot of the issues that we have with the current establishment of politics, if you want to hear inspiring speakers rather than half of the entire Trump family, You should check
The
it out
entire
there.
Trump family.
Yeah, Senator Nina Turner's going to be there. She was the co-chair of Our Revolution, which was Bernie Sanders' campaign, as well as Professor and Dr. Cornel West, who is one of my personal favorite public speakers. His lectures on Paideia are extremely inspiring. I'd recommend you look it up on YouTube.
The interesting thing to me was that it's not just like the convention hired these people. I was like super excited to see Cornel West and Nina Turner like really rep hard for this, movement, because it's important to just have another party that is really, really, meant to be receptive to the people's needs. So,
And we'll talk a little bit more about third parties and what they mean to in my deep dive as well. But I think it is important that they are doing this convention. I think that it's good to show it in contrast to
Yes.
the two main party conventions that we have seen over these last 2 weeks.
And that convention will be happening Sunday.
Yeah, this Sunday. So what's the date on that? Do we know?
August 30th.
August 30th.
wow, he knows the date.
So cool. Yeah.
Put that on your schedules. Please tune in. It'll be a blast.
Yeah, it will be a blast. So let's get into our deep dive. This is our peanut dive. That's me. I'm the peanut. So we're going to talk about the DNC and the RNC. I'm starting with the DNC because the DNC came first. It's not preference, even though I do have a preference. So yeah, the DNC was an extremely interesting thing to watch. This was easily the biggest tent that a political party has presented. I don't know how long, but it has been a long time before since the tent was that big. We had obviously speakers that are extremely progressive, such as Bernie Sanders, AOC.
She spoke.
90 seconds, but you know what I mean.
She spoke.
You have conservatives like and ex Republicans like John Kasich, Colin Powell, speaking against Trump. So this was an extremely diverse field. Like I said, I don't think that we've ever seen anything like it.
Definitely.
And they are trying to be the party for the people. As much as we talk about the People's Convention, they are trying to be that party right now. There was a lot in there about immigrants, about minorities, women particularly. I felt they touched on a lot. LGBT, just for the people in general, for the issues. They had a lot of important speeches, a lot of speeches that I thought were powerful, starting, of course, with Michelle Obama. She had a couple great quotes. She came out there with an attack on Trump. People were reporting this in the media like this was like some scathing attack on Trump. I kind of felt like it was just her saying the things that we've all been saying for a while and putting them eloquently in the Michelle Obama way. And it was a good speech. Did anybody watch that speech?
Yeah, I think the good thing about what she said was that, like, we always just say, oh, Trump is dumb, Trump is bad, Trump sucks. She said he is literally not good enough for the job and doesn't
I got a quote here.
the ability to step up. What'd she say exactly?
Donald Trump is the wrong president for our country. He has had more than enough time to prove that he can do the job, but he is clearly in over his head. He cannot meet this moment. He simply cannot be who we need him to be for us.
I don't think I could have put it better myself.
Yeah,
especially with the current troubles that we've had in mid-2020. I mean, it's never been more clear in my eyes that for this current moment, Trump is not the kind of person you want to be running things.
Definitely. I agree with her wholeheartedly. We had another relatively short speech from a woman named Kristen Urquiza. The standout quote in the soundbite, and I'm sure everyone's heard this so far, but she said, my dad was a healthy 65-year-old. His only pre-existing condition was trusting Donald Trump. And for that, he paid with his life. So that was like easily the most viral moment of the convention. That was everywhere when she said that, because I think it puts in perspective the impact that the president had on this crisis. It's not just that, he failed to call it what it is. He tried to convince people who believed him that it wasn't an issue. and that things were under control and that things were going to be all right when they weren't. And this woman is now without a father as a result of that, a direct result of that.
Yeah, I hate when they say that, oh, we closed the border. Like, wasn't that enough? I mean, not when you're, completely spinning the narrative and calling it a hoax for months before that. Like,
Yeah.
they start the story later. Like, that's something that we noticed a lot in the RNC.
Yeah, we'll get into that too. Start the story much later on than when it actually started. So I wanted to talk about Barack Obama. This was my favorite speech in the convention.
If you're going to quote it, I require that you do your best Obama accent.
I will quote it,
I
but
second.
I will do the accent. I do have a good Obama impression. But yeah, I thought this is a president, and our last president before the Donald, and he has remained largely quiet on the Donald and on the issues that our country is facing, and I believe that he did that on purpose. And the reason that he did that was so that this moment here was more powerful. He did it so that when he did finally speak, that it caught more attention. Because Obama hasn't been saying these things. Obama hasn't been talking about this.
Obama hasn't been fighting Trump for 4 years.
Obama has not been fighting Trump. Well, he has been fighting Trump for 4 years, but he hasn't been doing it in this way, very publicly, with a speech, this kind of thing. Like, he hasn't. And the standout quote that I picked from this, and I will do my... It's going to be bad, though, because I'm under pressure. I understand why a young person might look at politics right now, the circus of it all, the meanness and the lies and the conspiracy theories, and think, what's the point? Well, here's the point. This president and those in power, those who benefit from keeping things the way that they are counting on your cynicism. They know they can't win you over with their policies. So they're hoping to make it as hard as possible for you to vote and to convince you that your vote doesn't matter. And that's how they win. That was pretty bad. I think that was pretty bad.
I mean, hey, you gave it your best crack, and that's all we can hope for. Okay, here's one thing I'll give Barack, all right? The dude, Barry, is an incredible... Yeah, he's an incredible public speaker. Every single time he's up there on that podium and he's addressing the American people, dude, he's got the charisma of an angel. I honestly, I listen to every single one of his words, and I lean into it like, yes, yes, yes.
He has some way of just making himself sound like the hero that, like, he is, but the way he just speaks is like this angelic, just holy, heroic first black president. Mm-hmm. Man, this man is a liar too. This man lied to get elected. He, postured and...
You talking about Obama right now?
Yes.
Well, he's a politician.
Yes. He does this, like, that's the annoying thing of it, though. That was the annoying part of the DNC to me. I hope I wasn't yelling too much, but, like, he and Democrats, they don't, like, I mean, it's hard to be, like, accepting of, like, the mistakes that they made and, not accepting Medicare for all and, his issues with immigration and the bombing and that kind of thing. They never address it. They just, Trump bad.
Yeah, but Trump real bad.
Yeah, sure. But, I mean, Obama's not going to come up there and say, I was a bad politician, I lied, and, but it's like, what do we do as voters when people, like, no one's good,
Well, here's the thing, right? I think that as much as I disagree with Barack Obama on some of the policies that he's had, on some of the choices that he made in his career, I have no doubt in my heart that overall Barack Obama is ethically a good man.
Yeah,
I mean, doing his best.
He means what he says there, but he also is a person who broke the same kind of code and standard that he's setting. Like,
yeah, but in what way, though? The only reason I stand up against you on that, I know that there are obviously things that Obama did that were less than ideal.
And look, we can go on about it on and on. We could talk about the benefits and the.
I don't think he's credible.
Yeah, see, that's where I disagree with you. I think that I think he's extremely credible. I think that what you're correct on is that he was still a politician. And he was still an establishment Democrat.
Someone who played that game.
And he played the game, but you have to play the game. Do you understand? It's if you don't play the game.
Yeah, then don't say Trump is the only one playing the game.
If your name was Barack Hussein Obama and you were running for president in 2008, 7 years after the worst attack on American soil,
but this is exactly,
you would be playing the game too.
This is exactly what Obama's talking about, though, when he talks about cynicism and talking about not believing.
Oh yeah.
in voting. This is exactly what he's talking about. You're right. The dude is an extremely flawed man, but we can't afford to be cynical to the point where we don't act on our civic duty to vote.
They are counting on your cynicism.
I voted. I voted. My voice was not heard. Continue.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So the last thing I want to touch about on this Obama situation is that this was an Obama that was different from the Obama that we see largely in public speaking scenarios. This was an angry Obama. This was a morally horrified Obama. You do not see that very often. He is normally very straight-laced, buttoned up, and he talks about things in a straight and narrow way. That was not what he did with this speech. He made it clear his feelings that he had regarding the sitting president and regarding America's choice coming up on November 3rd. And you can hold this speech in sharp contrast to the acceptance speech that he gave in 2008. Like this, the acceptance speech was hope.
That's a good point.
Dreams and we're going to change the world. This speech right here was, there is something terrible happening in this country and we have to do something about it.
It's funny because it's almost like the ending conclusion of that first speech. Now, instead of it, we have hope and we have dreams, it's don't give up hope. Don't give up on your dreams.
It's a good point, Jack Tarman. I like that.
This election is not the end of elections. Like, this is not the end of leftism. This is not the end of neoliberal. Like, America will be here no matter what.
I think in one scenario, you are right. In another, I don't know if I agree with you wholeheartedly. But let's finish up the DNC before we talk about that. So the last speech I want to talk about, of course, is the Democratic nominee and his acceptance speech, Joseph R. Biden.
It's hard. It's so hard.
Yeah. Okay. So let me give my positive first. I think that this was a strong speech.
Was, for sure.
And definitely the strongest political speech that we've seen him give. It's not the most powerful speech I've ever seen. There wasn't a lot of emotion in it. There wasn't, severe calls to action. It kind of just felt like he was busting through it because he had to. But that's fine. It's fine. It certainly had weak moments, but that's fine. Yeah. I was expecting much worse. And I was actually expecting much worse of the DNC, frankly, when I walked into it. This is a man now, Joe Biden has become a man with a coalition behind him, unlike anything we have ever seen.
Bruh.
And he has a chance to defeat this president. He has a significant chance to defeat this president. And all of us, and I'm saying this just for me because I know that there are differing opinions at this table, all of us have a moral responsibility and obligation to vote for Joe Biden and stop this madness that is happening in this country every single day. It would make my job a lot easier, personally. And
can I respond to that real quick?
Sure.
Oh,
so we're going to get into it now.
Okay. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. I personally feel that I have a moral responsibility to vote for Biden. I am one of the people who is kind of just holding my tongue, just saying, all right, this is the last one. This is my last lesser evil vote. I've already done one in 2016, and I really do not want to do another in 2024. I honestly feel as if Joe and the Democratic Party in general isn't really doing many favors for us progressives. I don't feel like they're trying to win our vote. You know what I mean? I don't feel like there's any effort put out there other than what in the DNC we have a bunch of flowery promises that they're an ally of the left. What is that? Where's the policy?
No,
where's
Joe's going to be
where's
nice.
the stuff that you're going to be supporting?
Okay, so this is my response to you. Joe Biden is a man who is a compromiser. He walks around and he wheels and deals. And a person who wheels and deals will meet the requirements of the people who ask it of him. It may not be the full answer that you're looking for, but let's be real here, Jack Tarman. You are never going to get the full answer that you are looking for. There is no utopia at the end of this election that you are going to get what you want. So why don't you accept a man who is willing to compromise instead of talk down on it because you feel that they didn't give enough to the left in the DNC?
I'm not talking just about Joe. I'm talking about the Democratic Party in general. I think that, they say a lot of really nice stuff in the convention, but they have nothing to back it up. As a matter of fact, Medicare for All and Green New Deal got dropped from the party platform. So actually they are reverting.
And marijuana
They're
legalization.
backpedaling. So to me, it looks like they're saying a bunch of shit about how they're allies on the left, and then, underneath the table, completely kicking us in the shins. Why is that acceptable behavior for a party that's trying to win my vote?
What do you think about Bernie Sanders then? What do you think that he's doing? Do you think that he is walking into this situation knowing that Joe Biden is not going to make deals with him, knowing that Joe Biden will be an enemy to the left and not an ally? Man that you trust with your life, that you would have voted into office of president of the United States, you think that he is what? Playing to the party line? Really?
I think that he is doing what is necessary to defeat Trump.
Bernie's a one-of-a-kind congressman who's been able to sneak amendments in one-handedly. Like, he is a special member. Does that mean I trust his decisions? Do I think he should have dropped out? No. I think he should have stayed in and taken a stand all the way to the convention, because,
like he did in 2016, which cost us the election, some would argue?
I disagree with that argument.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to get into all of that right now, but the point that I'm trying to make is this. The progressive left, the radical left, thinks that if a person does not do exactly what they are asking, they are not their ally. And that's a falsehood. It's a false equivalency. Only Sith deal in absolutes.
I think that Joe Biden and this DNC, I'll make a DNC point. I won't make it about Joe Biden. I think this DNC and the large tent you're talking about is actually the shifting of the Democratic Party to officially represent a coalition that is not led by the people. This is the same bipartisan group of people that led America to Iraq. This is the same group of people that, voted for all of the terrible bills of the 90s, the crime bill, and everything else that created the country that we live in today, all of the bank bailouts, bipartisan support for them, and now we see bipartisan support for the Democrats. This is not the Bernie bipartisanship that we were imagining, where it's going to be a new section of the electorate that's never voted. The true bipartisanship that is Republicans who are done with Trump and leftists who are, finally ready to take a stand against the establishment. Like, that is not this election. This election is last chance to, fight against fascism. This is not as much as we want it to be. It's not about policy. Like, it's heartbreaking to see that.
It is, and I think you got at something that I was trying to get at, and you said it more eloquently than I. But this election is not about your policy, and it's not about what you want, and it's purely about, do we trust Donald Trump to continue to lead this country? And if the answer to that question is no, you better be fucking voting for Joe Biden. Otherwise, what the fuck are you doing?
Do we trust this country to lead itself? Alaska.
Okay, so
Alaska.
So here's my final feelings on the DNC, all right? And here's my final feelings on this matter at hand in particular. I'm not happy with the status quo that we had leading into Trump, and I will not be happy with the status quo leading out of Trump, whether that be under Biden or under Trump itself. Both of them are bad options.
The same
Obviously,
status
one
quo.
is incredibly worse than
The
the other.
same status quo.
It is not the same, Brandon. That's a false equivalency.
And if Biden's going to be the recovery president, and I've talked about this before, him being the recovery president. Oh, let's bring everything back to where it was under Obama, and then in 4 years we can figure out another president, right, in 2024. That is not satisfactory to me.
Oh, progressives
That's the reality
will
we're
totally
going
I don't need it to be satisfactory, Jack. I'm not satisfied.
Look, if the two parties are going to provide two status quos that I don't support, why in the fuck? Why are we?
Because
are we voting for it?
one party supports authoritarianism, fascism, and presents ideals that I know for a fact, because I'm going to get into the RNC in a second here. You're going to hear this shit, and you're going to go, why was I talking shit on the DNC? The Republican Party is the party of Trump, and Trump is an authoritarian. And you both are trying to make equivalencies as if Joe Biden and the foolhardiness,
The
and
bipartisanship.
you're trying to make that sound like it's going to be the same as a president who doesn't. President Trump who doesn't have to answer to the people anymore.
No. What we're saying,
we're saying it's going to be the same status quo that we had at the end of 2016.
I'm saying
under Obama.
progressives will not win those debates. Progressives will not be loud in those debates. Progressives will be very, very shunned, disliked, called radical leftists by our own party, like we were the entire primary. Like, I'm not excited for a Biden primary presidency where progressives are called idiots for wanting Medicare for all. Like, we're gonna get pooped on.
We got to fight wherever we can.
We
bro.
are going to
But
get
we're gonna get pooped on now. We'll be put on fucking lists like it's the Cold War under Joseph McCarthy under another 4 years of Trump. So you take your pick. You take your pick. Let's move on.
I don't think it's my pick. I think it's certain Republican swing states' pick.
That could be too.
It's that.
Yeah, we live in California. Let's not act like we have any sort of
Alaska.
say in this.
All right, let's talk about Thanos' Ascendant.
What?
The RNC.
I like that nickname.
So the RNC made the transition into a virtual platform fairly late.
Bruh.
They were not on the same track as the Democrats. As we know, he was planning to have an in-person convention almost all the way into August, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it was a lot in person.
Yeah, I mean, there was still a lot of but he was trying to do it at a convention center and like do the whole thing like it would have been in 2016 because he liked that. He enjoyed that convention. That's not what ended up happening. Of course, every single state that they were trying to do it in, they were like, no, please don't come here. So it ended up being virtual. This was a very well-produced convention.
Very well produced.
Yeah, it flowed, I suppose.
It was produced.
It was produced. And that's the end of the nice things that I have to say about the Republican National Convention. Fire and Fury doesn't sum it up. These people, they're attempting to convince the American people that Donald Trump is somehow the answer to the problems that he caused. Let's see how they did. So I was going to talk about the important speeches in this. And as I watched over the last 4 grueling days, I realized that they were all saying the same shit.
Not one
Pardon
single.
my French. They were all saying the same stuff. And they were all like stump speeches. They were as if they were at rallies, especially the two sons of Donald, Eric, and
Yeah.
They were not a single touching story about the president, not any form of trying to make him the man, right? Donald the man. None of that. It was just them spewing policy like they would have at a rally. Not even policy, right? Rhetoric.
Talking points.
Yeah, rhetoric.
The same talking points.
I mean, it's awful. It was
It's just
awful. There were more lies and misleading statements on the first night of the RNC than there were in all 4 nights of the DNC. Y'all are trying to make fucking equivalencies. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I don't think they lie. I just think they don't say everything that Like
They don't do everything that they say. Is that
they don't. I mean, they don't do full contextual analysis. I mean, you can't expect people to say that like I was saying with Obama. Like I don't expect him to address his history every time he speaks. But when I see Colin Powell up there, I'm like, okay, that's kind of strange. But continue.
Okay. Yeah.
These people are fucks.
For one of the misleading statements, I picked this one out because I thought this was a brilliant piece of work from our current vice president, Mr. Michael Pence. So during his speech, he had the widow of a police officer who was killed during the riots in attendance. And he was talking about it as if it was the violent mob that killed this officer. In reality, it was a right-wing extremist member of the group called the Boogaloos, or Boogaloo?
It's the Boogaloo Boys.
Boogaloo Boys. That was there defending property who killed this police officer. So that's an example of like a misleading statement. I know that people are like, oh, what is a misleading statement? Like that's a misleading statement. So this woman's husband was killed during the riots, but not by rioters, not by
that's
BLM
a straight up
people.
lie.
It's not a lie. He was killed, but he phrased it in a way that he implied that it was the rioters that killed him, and it was not. It was a right winger. So that's just like an example of the type of misleading stuff that they did. I mean, the lies, you can pick them out for yourselves. They're clear as day. If you know anything about modern politics, you watch this RNC and you go, what are they talking about? What is happening on the screen right now? There were some speeches that I did feel like on an emotional level. Like there was a guy there, a new representative.
From Georgia?
No, he's paralyzed from the waist down. He's 25 years old. He's like a super young guy. I forget his name, but he like stood up at one point, like from his wheelchair. I was touched by that.
I bet the crowd clapped.
There was no crowd.
I hate 2020.
There was also a lot of like really emotional stuff. I mean, I think that they're like coming from the wrong place, but I don't want to. What I'm trying to do with this is I'm not trying to group those people who are emotional and have an understanding of the way that this country works from that emotional standpoint. Like I don't want to shit talk them because I feel like they went through a tragedy and they're going through it in the way that they know best, and they think Trump will help them.
It definitely
and
seemed like
they can do that.
Yeah, it seemed like they had real stories, but the Republicans asked them to, put the tax cut spin on it.
Yeah, put the talking point into your real story. Yeah, definitely. But I just wanted to say that because I think it's important that I don't think that every single speech in the RNC was just like this like bluster. Like there were definitely real people with real problems in it that were speaking. But yeah, a lot of it was just stump speeches and that kind of thing. So I didn't get any specific quotes, mostly because they nauseate me. I did, however, all of us did, watch the acceptance speech of the sitting president for the nomination for a second term.
What were your opinions on that?
What were my opinions on that?
How'd you feel watching that?
I felt
in your stomach. In your
okay,
guts.
so let me just set the scene for a second.
Yeah, set it.
Donald J. Trump, introduced by his daughter, his favorite child, Ivanka,
the prettiest one, the one
that he would have dated, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Me too.
Me too.
Except I'm not her dad. So continue.
Introduces him. She gives a pretty boring speech and then introduces him. And he walks out. He's on the south lawn of the White House. The White House is lit up in brilliance behind him.
It looked beautiful.
400 yards away, there was a BLM protest. They didn't talk about it. And he talks for a little bit more than an hour, speaking the same talking points, the same attacks, the same aggressive rhetoric that almost every speech in the convention
it wasn't
before. It was not anything new. He said exactly the same stuff that his son said, that his wife said, that the vice president said. They were all saying the same stuff, and the gist of that was this: we're going to protect your Second Amendment from these people who are coming to take it. We are going to protect. You want me to do the voice?
Yes.
I'll do the. I got to do Trump if I do Brock. We're going to protect your Second Amendment rights. We're going to protect your suburbs, from black people presumably. Protect your free speech. Keep America, America. Protect you from the violent socialists, from the violent looters, the mobs, and illegal aliens. It's the same shit. It's the same shit every single time that this man speaks. But, despite all of that, this was a refined and restrained Trump. He was reading off the teleprompter. He was keeping his ad-libs to a minimum.
It kind of seemed like
he was given the speech that was written for him,
Yeah.
you know? What the president's goal was with this speech, I believe, is to show the country that, number one, Biden is a weak candidate, and that he will bend to the radicals in the Democratic Party, which is the exact opposite of what you two fucks have to say.
Yeah, I don't think
So who's right? You or the president?
Well, I think that, one, I think it's both, honestly. Here's the really, 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 like, hard part about our politics. Don't you want him to be the Trojan horse for so why are you voting for him?
I'm voting for him because Trump is not an option. He's not a Trojan horse. Biden is not a Trojan horse. He's gonna keep a moderate stance. There is some progressive policy that will get through as a result of that, and that's a good thing. But he's not a Trojan horse.
And John Kerry wasn't an option, or John Kerry was voted for because W wasn't an option.
Again, another false equivalency. You're comparing George W. Bush to this sitting president. I would take 3 more terms of George W. Bush over a single more term of Trump.
I'm just saying,
Trump didn't start any wars.
The lesser evil statement.
No, he just stayed in them and then
Despite-
almost caused World War III by killing a
Obama
foreign
stayed in the
national.
wars.
So?
They're all bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at here too. I think that the lesser evil statement, however drastic it is this time, and however much I agree with it this time,
Look.
is not going to sustain itself anymore.
I don't expect it to sustain itself past November 3rd.
Look. It's not about if Joe Biden is, going to represent what I want. It's that I don't have to vote for him, and I don't have to defend him. It's up to him.
You don't have to do anything, Brandon,
it's
but
up to him.
I do believe that you have a moral obligation to.
It's up to him and the DNC to make a case. It's not up, are they just expecting normal people who they are screwing to run their campaign? The DNC, that is one of their biggest, moves to get people to vote for them. Other than that, other than debates, what else is there left before it's election time? What else is there left before it's people's final decision?
Besides that, you're saying the national convention?
Yeah, I'm saying.
Okay, so let me contrast the 2 national conventions for you. The Republican National Convention, as I said, was a bunch of stump speeches, no new platform.
It was like a television show.
It's a TV production.
Their platform was Trump.
Yeah, their platform was, we're going to let Trump be Trump, right?
Yeah.
The DNC presented an entirely new platform from 2016. They presented real policy initiatives. They did. Brandon, I watched the fucking DNC. Did you?
Entirely new platform?
An entirely new platform. They brought it forward. They expressed their interest. They made sure that the most important things were near the top of the list. The most important things right now being, of course, authoritarian violence in our law enforcement, immigration issues.
They were trying to burn down the courthouse.
Which courthouse?
Any of them.
Look.
Are you just being contrarian to me right now? Is that what this is?
Hang on a second. They're putting immigration reform as the second most important.
No, it was like 3rd or 4th, I think.
I'm not voting for that.
Even still, that's I wouldn't even put that in top 5. Where's nationalized healthcare?
See, this is what I'm talking about, you fucking radicals.
No, I'm telling you that
These are my political beliefs.
These
are my political beliefs.
Listen to me, Jack. You are not going to get what you want in this election. So just stop pretending that you are. Both of you, stop pretending that you're going to get what you want in your election.
This isn't just what I want. This is what 70% of Americans want.
It doesn't matter how many people want it. None of them are going to fucking get it.
Then our democracy doesn't fucking work then, bud.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you.
Then why vote for either of them? Why vote for either of them?
Okay, I will explain myself if you would allow me. You've been talking over me. There is a situation in this country that needs to be rectified.
Which is?
Donald J. Trump.
What situation?
What do you mean, what situation? You want me to explain every single thing that made our country weaker, that has made our country into a more violent thing? You want me to explain all of that to you, just so that you could admit the point that
our country has
people
been
have
on
a moral
a downward
obligation to vote
spiral.
for Joe Biden
Our
right
country's
now?
been on a downward spiral, and I don't think Joe Biden or Trump is going to do anything to save a lot of lives.
Trump isn't. He's just the culmination of the amount of mistakes that our country has been making in the past 2 decades. We had Trump coming. Whether anybody wants to believe, whether you want to believe that it's all Trump or not, him and his radical right beliefs didn't come from just his own head. Matter of fact, quite the opposite.
And when we vote Trump out, when he gets voted out, there will still be that radical right, and they will still be a problem.
Anywhere.
Of course.
They will have more candidates. They will have
There'll still be a radical.
worse Trumps. Like, we have to allow this to fizzle out. Because, yes,
You
yes.
guys are off on something
Yes.
right now. You cannot allow this to fizzle. Let me explain to you something, Brandon. 'Cause since you guys are so convinced that somehow if we just sit it out, that we are going to somehow arrive in a better situation.
I don't
is
think
not
it's
my
going to be a
stance.
better
That's not my
situation.
stance in the slightest.
That's not my situation.
Don't group me in with Brandon here. I don't think we need to fizzle it out.
I think
we need
that-
something vastly different than letting it fizzle out.
I think between Trump and Biden, I think that there will be certain things, certain explosive events that are going to happen anyway, such as radicals, revolting. I think that's going to be the election. I mean, but coronavirus is going to explode next year. Next flu season, coronavirus is going to explode. Political divisiveness will not just stop because Biden is being nice.
I am not arguing any of those things. What I am arguing is that we will be infinitely better under
We
Biden.
will be comfortable.
No, we won't even be comfortable, Brandon. There's still a long fight ahead of us. But what I don't like to hear is the rhetoric that somehow Biden and Trump will have the same America under them. That is a falsehood, and it's a false equivalence.
I'm saying Trump is a better monster to fight against.
So re-elect Hitler in 1940? That's what you would have done?
Hang on a second.
I mean,
Peter.
who is he?
I think I understand Brandon's point while I
Yeah.
might disagree with him. I think what he's saying is if we really want to see the change that we want done in our country, if we really want those things to be set forward, then I think what Brandon is saying is it makes more sense to have the drastic action that would be necessary.
It's not something I want to see.
No, but I think he's just speaking from a oddly rational perspective. I don't think this has anything to do with, whether or not Biden would be a better president. Of course Biden would be a better president.
It has to do with the public reaction. I think people will go back to sleep.
I agree with Brandon here. I agree with Brandon. This happened back in 2008 too. Obama rose up the progressive left, told them, hey, we're going to get all this done. We're going to,
And the progressive left went to sleep? That's your argument?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
there is more progressives in this country than there has ever
That's
been.
demographics.
We lived through a progressive era 100 years ago, and there are more progressives in this country now than there were then. And you're going to tell me that somehow after we elected Barack Obama no, here's what happened. The Republicans led a coalition of obstruction against Barack Obama. And you're going to say the left went to sleep? Fuck no, Jack Tarman. That's
in
wrong.
the same cases, do you expect progressives who wanted healthcare for all from a guy who from an election where healthcare for all was being debated at that time? Do you think they're gonna support him and be as lovely for him when ACA was passed, when ACA was suggested, and they dismantle it? Like, that's the kind of that platform was not something that progressives could get behind.
And look, at the end of the day, a Democrat will reach out to shake my hand and hold a knife behind their backs, okay? A Republican will point that knife directly at me. I do not trust the Democrats. I do not trust Joe Biden. And I do not trust the establishment to any longer support progressive policy. I don't trust them.
You don't have to trust them, Jack. You just have to know that in this particular situation that we are living in right now, there is but one option.
We need a Democrat.
Option. Who the fuck else are you gonna vote for, Brandon?
Why do I have to vote?
You're gonna vote Green Party? You're gonna not vote? You're gonna do that?
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna.
I'm gonna argue for that right now.
With you and me sitting here right now are being more politically active than most Americans are ever in their entire lives. And you're gonna sit there and tell me that people should not vote simply because there is not a radical socialist option for them to vote for?
You want to tell my honest opinion? I'll tell you my honest opinion.
I've been hearing your honest opinion, Jack.
I agree. I don't think people should vote. I think that people should march to D.C.
I think people should vote if they want to vote for Biden.
I think that this parade has been going on long enough, and it's been going on long before Trump ever entered office.
If people support Biden and you can get behind, I cannot get behind this mic and tell people to go out and support a candidate who I don't believe is going to fully fight for the ideals that he says he will.
I cannot rationalize in my like.
If you live in a swing state, go for it.
No, hold on, Brandon. I cannot rationalize, even in the darkest recesses of my mind, why either of you two would think that it's an acceptable thing to not participate in this democracy.
Because Hillary Clinton won by 3 million votes.
So what, bro?
I was one of those 3 million.
So was I.
She lost.
What is it? What does it mean?
My 1 of 3 million did not change anything.
Here is the solution that you are presenting, and I will argue by analogy here because I think that you guys are really deep set in this. So I will argue by analogy here.
Here we go.
What you are saying is, here is this car that we are in, and that car is America, okay? It's the electoral process. It's how we do things. The car is not running well. So your answer is to get out of the car and leave it on the side of the road and not do anything about it.
I don't think that's a good analogy.
Or worse yet,
let
stay
the
in
car just drive with no driver.
Stay in the car with no driver.
Yeah.
And crash it. Those are the two things that will happen.
Did the
if
car
you do not
just
vote.
the car just crashed?
Those are not the only two options.
Though they are.
The car been crashed.
No, they're not.
No, you and I have talked about this extensively. There is that could occur very, very easily in this country, in which we would see a complete overturn of everything that exists. Because of violence, because of armed revolt. Now, if that is what you two want to see, honestly, you should get up from this table.
Don't you think the Boogaloo Boys are going to turn up under a Biden administration? There will always be political violence.
Not always, Brandon. And this country has prided itself on having as little political violence as we possibly can.
Don't give me that.
Compare
like
us
the
to
Oklahoma City bombing.
Compare us to any country in the world,
what is the
Jack.
Ku Klux Klan?
Compare us to any country in the world, Jack. Compare us to Libya. Compare us to Egypt. Compare us to England.
Are you voting for Joe Biden, Jack Tarman?
Yes.
Brandon Blackmon, are you
Why
voting?
do I have to vote for Joe Biden?
No, I don't want to talk about that anymore.
I'm voting for Congress. I'm voting for Senate. I'm voting for things that will affect my
Who are you voting for?
locality.
Democrats?
Yeah. I'm voting for Mike Levin.
Hypocrite. You're
No.
a hypocrite.
I'm not.
Because you won't vote on the national level, but you'll vote for the same guys who are
I don't support
upholding
Joe Biden, but I support Mike Levin. Two different people with two different agendas.
Mike Levin is an establishment Democrat. The only thing that he's progressive on is green energy. You're voting for establishment Democrats.
Something that is very important to my district.
Indeed. It's huge.
I don't support Joe Biden, and I will not tell people to vote for someone I don't support.
Okay, so I'll do it. I think that people in this country have a moral obligation to vote for Joe Biden, because if you don't, we will see a country that does not look anything like the country that our parents grew up in.
So I have some local news for here in California. We have it's wildfire season. So you guys all know what that means. We've been seeing increasing wildfire dangers. The spread of them has been massive. We have two fires especially that has been growing increasingly out of control. We have the SCU and LNU lightning complexes. They are the second and third largest fires in California's history, respectively, both reaching over 350,000 square acres. Now, I guess square acres is redundant. I guess I should just say acres. But the point is that's close to 550 square miles of raging wildfire. 550 square miles each. So if you add that, that's already 1,100 square miles of torched earth in California. So I'm going to go over some numbers real quick before we kind of jump into this further. So we have, so far, the fires have destroyed 175 structures, including homes, and are threatening 50,000 more. And this is Lant. He's an assistant deputy director with the State Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. So a pretty stand-up dude. And all in all, we've lost 33 lives. 33, that's both civilians and they've been injured and 2 people have died. That's a huge stipulation I need to make. So it's getting huge. More than 10,000 firefighters on the front lines.
And this is like the beginning of the fire season, right?
Yeah,
this is the beginning.
Yep. This is what we're coming up against week 1, week 2 into this, right? So already we have more than 10,000 firefighters on the front lines, but they're strapped for resources. They're overworked. There's not enough. We need more support. They're working 72-hour shifts. Barely a blink between there. They're out there fighting fires for 3 days straight. And usually it's a 24-hour shift. So that's kind of just to differentiate this. This is triple time. This is triple overtime.
Well, a thing that I heard about that too, why the the standard firefighters are overworked, is because they're having problems with. Normally, when the wildfire season runs around, they take volunteers from prisons to fight the fires. They get paid like $5 an hour or something ridiculous like that to fight the fires, but they can't because they've had such massive problems in California and the prisons with COVID. So the prisons are on lockdown, so they can't get this excess workforce out there. That's why these firefighters are having to work 72-hour shifts instead of 24-hour shifts.
Sure. I mean, yeah. There's a lot I could say about using prisoners for firefighting. I think that indentured servitude of any magnitude, even if it's our populace that have broken the law, is abhorrent. But
yeah. And they can't be firefighters after they get out of prison too, even though they, went through all that training.
Right, they're felons.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, I mean, you could say a lot about that. I'm just saying, as an a possible explanation for why these guys are working more is because these fires are bigger, and also there's an absent element in the workforce.
Yep, absolutely. So the state has requested 375 fire engines and crew from other states, and they're not receiving them, and that's as of Tuesday. So we have pleaded to our neighboring states for aid, and they are saying, good luck, buddy, you're on your own. This is in stark contrast to 2018. We had a lot of support specifically from Arizona and Texas, I believe.
There's a lot of fires, though, in the other states, aren't there, though?
There's some in Oregon, but
not to this extent.
Not
I thought,
nearly to this extent.
Like Utah. Like, I saw, like...
There are other fires, but this
Yeah.
is like California is clearly the epicenter of this particular disaster.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't know necessarily what changed between now and 2018 in terms of why we're not getting this. We need to do more research, or maybe there isn't anything out there. Maybe it's unexplainable. But I put it on the blame of our governor personally. If he can't get secure emergency supplies from other states, from the federal
during
government,
another emergency.
Here's what I think
during a not even just a state emergency, but what should be seen as a national emergency, considering that we are, 20% of the United States population?
Yeah, no, my point is that of course it's going to be hard for him to get resources when he spent all of his resources fighting COVID when he didn't have any federal aid.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Our state has been
I don't think you can blame that on the governor.
Our state has been totally depleted economically thanks to the coronavirus. Like, we were running...
We had a surplus. And we spent it all fighting COVID, and then you're going to tell us that it's his fault that he can't find emergency supplies?
Look.
And I'm just saying that you have to imagine all the other states, like, that are dealing with the economic problems from COVID.
Yeah, maybe they can't extend the help because of the problems that they're facing.
Defunded cities across the nation.
So you're telling me, and this is a huge problem, right? Because you're telling me that absent of federal aid, the states have no power to be able to support themselves during states of crisis, that we are completely dependent on the federal government for that aid. That's what you're telling me.
To some extent, yes.
To some extent, yes.
That's the truth. That's why we have a federal government that is the size that it is.
Yeah, we're dependent on the state of our neighbors. So even if California had 0 coronavirus and Arizona had 100% coronavirus, that's our problem.
Look, from the moment that Mitch McConnell started denying bills passing for COVID-19 stimulus, from the moment that Trump was denying that COVID even existed as an issue,
Yes.
the state should have seen, wow, we're really on our own in this.
Heading into a hot summer.
So the governors should be meeting with each other frequently,
They are.
abundantly, and this is what they can show for it. Oh, sorry, buddy, we're just going to let
Jack, there
1,100
is
square miles of California
there
burn in.
is only so much money and so much manpower that you can throw at a problem like this. This is an ecological disaster that many people saw coming, but many ignored. And it's hitting now, and we do not have the resources.
How
That is
can we-
not Governor
sure.
Newsom's fault, who's been in office for 2 years.
Sure, we don't have the resources, but this wildfire season happens every year.
Yes.
And we were negligent about it?
Yeah.
After 2018 was the worst wildfire season in California's history, we just ignored it coming into 2020?
I don't
because
think
of
we
COVID?
ignored it outright. I just don't think that there was that much to do from the position of a governor in California, especially considering that every single time they raise the taxes in California, there's a mass exodus of taxpayers and of people who live here.
Oh, but the
So-
Green New Deal is going to pass. So we're going to be all good.
Okay, so I'm going to continue with the story.
Please.
So that's kind of what's going on with the fires right now, especially the SEU and LENU. So far, the deaths that we've known so far, two of them. One of them was a firefighter whose helicopter tragically crashed
Ooh.
during a water dumping.
Right. They fly over and
Yeah.
probably low visibility, I bet.
Yeah, I can only
Yeah,
imagine.
from all the ash. I mean,
Yeah.
it must be,
Yeah.
to fly up there.
That's
accurately.
horrible, man.
Yeah, and another man suffocated in his truck, escaping a fire as well. I think he was a worker sent to the front from PG&E or some other electric
Right.
service to shut things down, right?
Yeah, to not continue the fire via electrical wires or whatever.
Right.
or things like that.
Was he like
Exactly.
stuck in traffic or something? Or
No, he passed out in his. That's all I know from.
Yeah, I
from
mean,
reports I've read.
cars don't really protect you from the toxins outside. There's a lot of gaps
the
and
heat.
openings, or the heat. Yeah, so, I mean, it's awful, but you consider the people who like kill themselves via vehicle fumes and things like that. Like the cars don't protect from toxins. So if you're driving through a wildfire like that, it's not protecting you from the ash.
yeah, I'm thinking about like
And,
those crazy videos of just blocked up roadways as people evacuate, like
Yeah, and there's smoke everywhere.
fire.
Yeah.
So, to kind of sum up this deep dive, because we spent a lot of time on the first segment, I
My
want to
bad.
kind of get things rolling.
My bad,
So
Joe Biden. I'm sorry.
So the state of California has been reimbursed by the federal government
I ain't black.
for its increased firefighting costs. So they were able to get funds back for what they spent, but they were only reimbursed. The federal government hasn't been giving any grants to the state of California for increased funds to fight this disaster. They basically said, all right, well, we'll pay you back for what you paid, but other than that, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Which is obviously the worst response. Well, not the worst response. They could just say, go fuck yourself, have fun with it. But I mean, one of the worst responses to one of the worst natural disasters that we see in our country, this wildfire season.
And yeah, it's every year, right? So like these hurricanes, like, yeah, they're pretty much every year, but not every year with massive damages, right? Like these fires every single year roll through California and destroy
Increasingly
people's
worse.
homes. Increasingly worse. I mean, I agree with you that it like the impotent response from both the like state, local, and federal, it's awful.
exacerbated.
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
It seems like it's not a priority,
yeah.
even though like it's just sad to me that like,
It's hard to fight the forces of nature, man, and that's why it's so important that like we get some form of green energy and things like that. Which by the way, Joe Biden supports. Fucks.
Yeah,
And-
Joe Biden is a staunch EPA like advocate.
Yeah.
I'd vote for that.
But yeah,
don't
these are
know.
the crises, and what has Donald Trump done about that? He misnamed the town. He called it Pleasure. It was Paradise,
No.
right?
Yep.
Or I might get that mixed up because I am right. I'm getting cues in from Jack Tunney that I'm correct about that.
From young Jack.
From young Jack over there.
He had a video this week and he was like, wow, California, last year I told him that they should be raking those
They
leaves.
should rake the leaves. Rake
I
the
told 'em.
leaves.
I
Rake
told
the
them.
forest.
I told them to, and they didn't listen to
They
me.
didn't
Now
tell me.
look at them.
Oh my God.
It's
So
a
it's
little
about him.
bullshit.
It's about him.
Of course it is, because because California's been belligerent in previous things that he wanted to do in our state.
It just bums me out that
We're
it's
a
usually
sanctuary state, so
Yep.
that pisses him off beyond measure.
So obviously just reimbursement isn't enough. I would argue it's not just enough to give a little bit of money, like a few million, and say, okay, there you go. There should be a surplus. There should
Yes.
be tens of
There
millions,
should be a
if not
fund.
hundreds of millions of dollars coming to California every year to prepare for wildfire season.
Exclusively for wildfires.
Is it?
Yep.
Do we get like state of emergency funds?
No. So, and actually, our state of emergency funds are depleted from COVID. So when the governor declares a state of emergency, which he has had to every single year for 8 years, I think, with the wildfires.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is a fund, but it is gone now.
COVID fucked everything.
Yeah.
So it's up to neighboring states to help us, and if they can't, or won't.
Didn't
whatever the
Newsom
hell's
say
going
something
on.
about that I heard something about Washington State, Oregon State, that they were giving firefighters and supplies. I could be wrong about this, but I thought that I heard him say that when because I listened to his news briefings.
This morning? I must have missed it.
No,
think
not
they're-
this morning. It was a couple days ago.
They're in talks. I think it's just hard to like actually budget that out and
Definitely.
But these
drive
talks,
over
these
here.
talks should have happened 2 months. We know that this is going to happen. It happens every year.
They should
These
already be
talks should
here.
be
Yeah.
happening months ago.
I
Yeah.
feel you on that for sure.
I mean,
Yeah, they
it's-
wait for the crisis to occur and then they talk about it.
It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
man. It's
Yeah.
negligent. And people's lives are people are gonna suffer because of this.
Yeah.
People's lives are in danger because of this, because our elected officials continue time and time again to disappoint us. This is your job to do this.
My job?
No, I'm talking to the camera. But this is
This is your
elected
job to do
officials,
this.
This is your job,
Camera.
and you're not talking about coalitioning with neighboring states to deal with the season that happens every year. I don't understand how this is too difficult to get done.
It's not. It's not. It's willful ignorance.
So the federal government, it's the federal government's responsibility to step in during times of crisis if we can't get that help from neighboring states. And of course, they're giving California the middle finger. So
As you would.
I don't know. Look, okay. I'm not going to say whether or not this is a good or bad idea. I don't want to make any sort of stance on this. But when you have a state where their open referendum has legislation created by people to secede from your union,
Bruh.
you shouldn't be making choices to give them the middle finger and say, fuck you, you're on your own. That's not the correct choice of action. There's a lot of Californians here who think, wow, the rest of the country does very little for us, and we supply a lot of their economy. We supply a lot of their
I'm
food.
100% for the Republic of California.
Me too.
Good to hear that. To some extent, I'm with you. But look, if we are one of the most important states in the union, which we are, undeniably, you need to treat us that way.
They
And
need
you
to just
give
treat us that way.
Yes, absolutely.
We're the 6th largest economy in the world. California
They
alone.
need to treat us better.
And if California was not in the U.S., the U.S. Would drop from the 2nd largest economy in the world to the 5th largest economy in the world.
Oh, honey. You need to treat us better.
And that's the dead truth.
It is the dead truth. So, for further updates on the California wildfires, I'll go ahead and have our editor Dave put up a link for you up in this top left corner here. There is an interactive map made by KRN4 in San Francisco. It's going to be up here, guys. They have a map. You can look at each of the names of the fires, and then from those names, you can go ahead and look up articles on them, see what's going on with them, what damage might be potentially there, whether or not it's contained, by what percentage, all that stuff.
And be safe, y'all. It's scary. It's scary out there. It's rapidly changing situation.
Yeah, and if the firefighters come and tell you that you need to leave your home, leave your home.
Please leave your home. Leave your home.
Don't burn alive with your stuff. It's not worth it.
See, I think that it's really important to leave as soon as news breaks. You have to be on it because
Yeah.
you don't want to be stuck in traffic.
For sure.
That's the scariest videos I've seen of
No,
people
your life
sitting
is worth
there.
a lot more than what is in that house. Don't waste your time. Grab your loved ones, grab your pets, and get the fuck out of there.
Also, make sure you have your documents all together, like your birth certificate, that kind of thing. What else? Your dog.
That's your
dog.
Yeah. You make sure you
Save
have
the
your
dogs.
dog in the same folder that you have your driver's license and all that good stuff. All right.
Well, thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack. That was expedited, and I appreciate it because I was very long-winded.
What's the J stand for?
Jelly, bro. Of course.
That's the jelly. It's short and sweet.
I was like, does it stand for Jack? Peanut butter and Jack?
Peanut butter and Jack.
Nice,
Daniels.
All right, so are we
breakfast.
just about ready to jump into the butter dive?
Yeah, we're going to jump into my dive, which is I kind of wanted to cover a state that I feel like we don't really hear about enough. It's a state that is one of the largest states in the country. It's
largest based on land, right?
Largest based on land, almost as big as Texas. It's bigger than France and Germany together. This is a giant landmass that's only populated with, a few 100,000 people. There are not a lot of people that live in Alaska.
That's the state we're talking about, by the way, is Alaska. I don't know if you figured that out.
I just kind of wanted to talk about 3 different environmental kind of crises, not catastrophes, controversies. There are big movements happening in the Alaskan environment in 2020. So the first one I wanted to cover was Bristol Bay. There's something called the Pebble Mine. You may not know what Bristol Bay is by the name, but Bristol Bay is basically that big tip on the bottom of Alaska to the left, the big, peninsula.
I believe it's also called the Aleutian Isles, right?
Well, that's beyond the Bristol Bay.
The Aleutian
Oh,
Isles.
I see. So it's further down.
Yeah, so
Those are
the Aleutian Isles is that strand that comes off from where Bristol Bay is.
Oh, I see. So it's just the peninsula that leads
Yes.
into those isles.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. But that entire land area by itself is already 250 miles of freaking just area. So
It's like wilderness?
no, that's gonna be the mouth of the bay from Alaska, but that's the top of Alaska to the bottom of Alaska. So that's a giant state.
Right.
That's kind of geography of it. And this is a comment from U.S. House of Representative Peter DeFazio from the state of Oregon.
It's me.
He was saying that about 31% of the world's wild sockeye harvest, which is a fish, generates about 1.5 billion annually and supports more than 10,000 U.S. jobs, and it depends on this Bristol Bay. So this is a very important economic spot for fisheries.
Is he the representative from?
He's from Oregon.
Oh, so he's not even the Alaskan representative.
Yes. You'll notice that a lot. But yeah, so these lands are actually native lands. So there are native tribes that live on these lands, separate from normal U.S. governments. But they still do have the option to vote in the U.S. Presidential election if they want to, if they are in a certain incorporated areas. Some people live in straight up unincorporated areas, but there are certain
straight wilderness.
Yes,
Yeah.
but there are incorporated areas that are considered native Alaskan tribes.
Are these tribal people also American citizens?
Yes, it's a little different than how it's treated in Arizona, which I picked up on. Navajo Nation, it's not the same kind of.
Yeah, they're more separate, from what I understand, right? They live more separately.
They live more remotely, but they
Yes.
still have the option to vote if they'd like to.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think does Navajo Nation are they allowed to vote in a presidential election? I'm not sure.
I don't know that for a fact. I think that they are, though.
I feel like they should be. But
They certainly elect their representatives.
my point on that is that these are federally recognized native tribes, but these lands themselves are under the state of Alaska jurisdiction. So that's important to remember because I'm really going to get into the federal jurisdiction versus the state jurisdiction. But the specific mine that is trying to be built in this land potentially has up to 10 billion tons of ore worth up to $500 billion. So basically the story behind this mine goes in 2010, basically 9 native tribes come together and petition the EPA to, enforce the Clean Water Act under the Obama-Biden administration, basically to protect Bristol Bay, get some official legislation that the federal government will come in and protect the state from private fracking companies, that kind of thing. The EPA responds by investigating it, and they basically put a preemptive hold on any kind of permit processing. So this kind of came under controversy because the company that was behind the mine, Northern Dynasty Minerals, they basically had a problem with the EPA coming into the state and issuing that hold because it was pretty preemptive. They were kind of doing very hypothetical studies, not actually taking real proposals from the companies.
Right.
So the company sued. And this basically put a hold on a hold on a hold on a permit. So it's very, very bureaucratic here. Very, very. So basically, it was in standstill. It was stopped. A lot of people divested from the project because they realized that it was going to be held up for a long time. So basically, it was held up until Trump's election. And
Right.
according to KTUU, which is a local Anchorage radio station, it was reported that the EPA chief, Scott Pruitt, actually...
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, it's reported that he actually met with Northern Dynasty executives during their original 2018 campaign to really disarm the Clean Water Act. So, how do you feel about that, Peter? This guy his name is directly on that.
Let me just say this, and this is a throwback. Under President Joe Biden, a situation like this would not occur.
But would it? I'm going to continue. This is back to...
That's his Clean Water Act.
Yeah. I'm going to continue. Because it was stopped. But it wasn't stopped by, the private company. As noted in the testimony today, this is the Oregon representative. I think it's important that this is an Oregon representative who's coming in and defending Alaskan waters.
Right.
Where are the Alaskan representatives?
In the pockets of the people who want the mine.
Yes. The Pebble proposal would require the removal and treatment of over 1 billion tons of bulk mining tailings. This is the size and scale of what would be happening to produce this mine. 1 billion tons of bulk mining tailings, which is like moving the mining, like the
equipment.
The equipment, the scraps, like
Right.
the shake.
Sure.
The capturing and treatment of approximately 13,000 gallons per minute of contaminated mine wastewater. And all of this is going to be behind 5 constructed dams in one of the most dynamic environments on Earth. 2 of these dams are proposed to be 540 feet each. So this is a huge operation, not only, not beginning to consider the, highways that would need to be built out there. So yeah, as you said, Biden, that was his Clean Water Act. His EPA started that. So Biden, after hearing about this, comes out against it extremely hard. He's saying that no science-based finding would support a mine there because of, the sensitive location. So it turns out that 62% of Alaskan voters are against the Pebble mine and would support an EPA veto. And so that shows that there are a lot of people that are in favor of the mine, but also 62% of it don't support a mine. So it's 60-40 split. That's not a majority. That's a majority, but it isn't like a massive majority.
Is it 40% are for?
60% are against it. So and that was like it was more like.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that 40% are for. That
it was like
means
45%. Strongly were for it or strongly opposed the mine. So it was like 45% were strongly against it. It was like 15 were kind of against it. And then it was like 20 strongly support, 20 strongly, kind of care,
Yeah.
So it's not like 40% support. It's like 40% may not know what that is.
Yes.
It's, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I want to talk about, statements and compare people who don't even live in this state compared to the representatives that these people voted wildly for. Like these 2 representatives won their elections by 60-70%. Lisa Murkowski, a name that you probably know if you've been paying attention. She says that she strongly supports Alaska mining industry, the jobs, revenues, and raw materials that it provides. Mining's role in our state's economy will only grow in these years ahead, but each project will have to demonstrate that it can be built, operated in accordance with strict regulations and without significant adverse impact on the environment. So she's saying that
sounds like both things. That sounds like she has both opinions.
Yeah, she's saying that she's okay with building mines if they are, going to be as environmentally regulated as they possibly could be.
But mines
Is
are
she
still,
Republican?
This is Republican.
Yeah, I thought Alaska's like a strong red state.
Mines, just the creation of mines is environmentally harmful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
so-
I mean, like,
That's like saying like, oh, I'm gonna go, tear down this wall without breaking the bricks.
right.
Yeah. So her cohort, her Alaskan Republican cohort in office, Senator Sullivan, who just won his election, or he's up for re-election this year, actually, he said that I have been a very strong advocate for responsible resource development in Alaska because it provides good paying job and continues to sustain hardworking Alaskan families, and oil production is the backbone of our economy. So
Latino construction workers are this nation's backbone.
So
Name that quote.
I think what they're saying
Name
is
that quote.
I don't
You know what
remember
that's from? All right, whatever. It's from the campaign.
I think
For the viewers at
that
home.
what
Will
they're
Ferrell,
saying
Zach
is
Galifianakis.
important and it is real. I think what they're saying is important and it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Alaska's economy is built on these developmental projects, people moving there from across the country and bringing new blood, new money, new tax revenue to the state.
Sure.
And it does make sense to argue for those things and argue for environmental regulation for those things. My problem always comes in when you find out that Lisa Murkowski and Sullivan both make like $50,000 each from multiple different companies. Like she's getting paid to say these things. It's not like she really cares about providing good regulations, because that's something I'm for. Like, if we are going to be the biggest producer of energy on the world, I would much rather it be us than, China, who's the largest polluter. I'd rather it be us, the US, than Russia, who is one of the largest polluters in the world. And if companies are going to be investing their money anyway, it's important that they invest it somewhere where it's going to be safe.
Yeah.
And we need to,
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think that it's important that we invest in energy, because it is important that we lead the world in energy, because we have historically led it to a place that is
Safer.
more clean, safer. However, I don't think that you are going to find a very safe solution for mining operations such as this, for fracking operations such as this.
Oh, no.
I think that there is not a thing that you can do that will make that operation safe, especially considering that these fracking companies have made it so that it's impossible for people on the outside to figure out what is in the chemicals that they're shooting in the ground.
For sure, exactly.
So what they've done essentially is denied that it has adverse impacts on the environment, gone in, made adverse impacts on the environment, and then said later, those were there before we got here.
Or
Because we don't know what's in it, so we can't tell them, we found this chemical and this chemical, and this is in your fracking material.
There's no real test being done.
Yes, because we can't, because they won't tell us.
Until it's already built.
Yeah.
Here's another problem for me personally. Traditionally, this Bristol Bay Area has been tribal land, correct?
Yes.
It is currently 58% Native Alaskan, but you also have to remember that this is a gigantic area.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned earlier that Native tribes came together to petition, stopping this pebble mine, correct?
Yes. And also that petition was one of the most commented on, one of the most debated petitions that the EPA has ever put together.
And how many signatures did that petition get?
Up to 1 million.
Yeah, fuck ton.
Okay.
But also, this is a national petition and not exactly a local petition,
Sure, that's fine.
which I'm going to get back to on that
But the Native
point.
tribes came together to organize it, correct?
9, yes.
So you're telling me that the native people of this land, the people that were here eons before we were, are saying, hey, we don't want you to put this mine here. We believe it will have a harmful environment on the fish that live here.
That produces $1.5 billion in profit annually, feeds a bunch of people in America.
A competitively equal amount of revenue possible there. So yeah,
So they're saying, hey, please don't build on this land, and we're still talking about it now. Why didn't it stop there? Why didn't it stop at, look, these native tribes?
Because we don't listen to the natives.
because of the lawsuit, and because of the EPA did their.
There's no respect in this goddamn country.
Because the EPA
There's no
did.
respect.
Oh no, definitely no. But it's because Yeah, I mean that's just another example of
Like Rodney Dangerfield would say.
These kind of minorities being left out systematically.
I get no respect at all. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, it's bad. I think this story is a little worse. I would never put a mine there. I think it's a terrible. It's like literally on the coast, on the outways of the water. I don't think anybody with a mine would put a mine there. It seems like they are going to veto it, even though they just allowed permitting for the mine to continue. They are using this Newspeak 1984 language where the Trump's EPA and like the U.S. Corps of Army Engineers, who is responsible for like building that kind of energy. Basically, they said that this permit is being allowed because the permitting isn't what causes environmental danger. The actual building of mines is what causes the danger. So the permit.
But doesn't permitting lead to the building of mines?
That's why the permit was passed. Yes. So.
Hey, so if we take off each other's clothes, we don't necessarily have to have sex, but.
And that's not just that's the conclusion of decades of debates.
Oh my God.
Permits cannot cause environmental danger, so permits are cool. And okay, so I don't know if I'll do all three of the stories, but I do want to do the one that I do think is a little more iffy, a little more of a gray area.
Okay.
ANWR, or the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. I think that this one is a little more iffy. This land area is located at the top right of Alaska. The top right corner, it contains 19.3 million acres of land. Basically, this is the largest untouched wildlife refuge in the country. No other land is.
Teddy Roosevelt, the boy Teddy Roosevelt made this.
Yes,
wow.
yes. First national. It's one of the first national parks, along with the redwoods. But
wow,
yeah,
that's really cool.
he was there. He went there and was like,
I'm sure.
Yeah, he went there and was like, we got to protect this. So I think it's important history. It was protected until about 1980 under President Carter, where it was sectioned off. There was a special section that was sectioned off, like 1002. I don't know what exactly made them section it off, but they found that this area contained 10 to 20 billion tons of ore in the like top right corner of Alaska. It's like a little sliver of the top of Alaska. So it's really not that much area. It's right on the border of Alaska. So
how much ore?
10 to 20 billion tons.
Oh my God! No wonder they want to get in.
The
there.
other one was 10.
Yeah.
Like it's not a little bit of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
But also these aren't confirmed promises. These are proposals.
Right.
These are
and of course they would say that there is a lot because they want to mine there.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, President Jimmy Carter sectioned it off and said if the people ever want to mine there, then it would have to be authorized by Congress.
Okay.
So that's what happened there, and basically Democrats have been blocking that authorization for decades now. Bill Clinton blocked it and vetoed it under a Republican House and Republican Senate, and then it was also almost passed in 2000.
Is that famous filibuster?
No, that was in 2005, the famous filibuster when it was passed by Republicans in the House and the Senate. And then that's that famous filibuster in 2005 on like December 21st, right before Christmas.
Yeah.
It was like a 58-41 vote, and the Democrats filibustered. And
yeah, but they filibustered for a long time. They had multiple speakers and stuff, right? Am I thinking of the same one?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a little piece of history on that.
So yeah, people they've been fighting against this for a long time. I want to quote somebody here. I think it was this representative from Washington, another representative from a different state who is, fighting harder for Alaskan wildlife than anybody from Alaska is. I remember who it was. It was Mindy something. Mindy. It's somebody who is still around today who has been just look up Alaska mining representative mad at Trump. I don't know. But yeah, she was there in 2005. She was a new senator, and she's still there today. So she was like personally, emotionally affected by President Trump, passing this bill. Because Arctic,
Representative from Washington?
yeah, she's a senator.
Oh, a senator from... That's way easier.
No. So here's what she says. The Arctic is melting, oil markets are crashing, and polar bears are becoming extinct. But instead of focusing on the clean energy future and the millions of new jobs it will create, President Trump's answer is to fast-track destruction of one of the most unique and fragile ecosystems on the planet. When it comes to protecting our public lands, the administration's record shows over and over where his priorities lie, with special interests and big oil, not the American people. The future of the Arctic is in tourism. What the president... I do not agree with that.
Just read the rest of the quote.
Who's going up there?
A lot of people go up there.
The future... Yeah, I watched the video. She was like, oh my God, polar bears. The future of the Arctic is in tourism. What the president doesn't fully grasp is that we are an Arctic nation, and that with new sea routes opening up, the real value of this land is conservation, not exploitation. Because Trump is the first president to finally allow permits for breaking ground on this land, because under Lisa Murkowski, in that tax plan, Anwar was snuck in that 2017 tax plan, and funding for it was because they kept trying to like sneak it under budgeting bills, and they finally got it through under Trump.
I actually love the ending of that quote. The real value of this land is conservation, not exploitation. That applies relevantly to California.
How is their value in conservation?
Value in...
well, let me go ahead and say, let's put up California as an example. Trump has repeatedly said that he wants to put oil rigs outside our coasts. Do you want that?
Is there even oil out there?
There is.
Yes, there's a shit ton. There's a lot.
Well, where is it?
A couple
just off the
hundred
coast.
miles off the coast.
Where?
So theoretically, Brandon, by that process, by
if
that
it's not by
process,
me,
bruh.
Don't say that, man. I'm joking.
Bruh.
This is not joking.
The value of California is also, just as in Alaska, is tourism. We have some of the most beautiful national landmarks in the entire world. Yosemite National
Tourism
Park.
is a big money getter for a lot of
For
states,
sure.
bro.
For sure.
We are a service sector economy, which
Yeah.
means that tourism is one of the three huge staples in that.
I watched the video of this small town on like the edge of the peninsula at Bristol Bay, and this woman was talking about how she flew all the way there to see the polar bears, and this guy was working in the town. He was like, yeah, this is a tourist town. It's very surprising that it's a tourist town because of the location. But it didn't seem like their economy was very built on, having hotels there. I'm sure it exists, but there's no way.
I think their point is that it's getting more touristy, and that there is more...
As it melts.
Well, yeah, because that's the unfortunate truth. Okay, and this throws back to what I was arguing with you two before. The unfortunate truth is that as you've pointed out, Donald J. Trump has rolled back more environmental protections than any sitting president in history.
Yeah.
And there is a situation that is now exacerbated by this president that is increasing, causing the polar ice caps to melt, causing more ocean ways to open, and that's gonna happen. It's not a matter of can we stop it. It's not anything. That's gonna happen. And when that does happen, there are more sea routes to be able to go to these places, and that's just a fact. So, I think that they're right, that these places will become more touristy, and it's better that they are touristy instead of completely destroyed by mining operations, the fresh water in the area destroyed by mining operations, all of that stuff, Brandon. And that goes into a great number of issues. That's our water crisis.
I think the economic activity from building a mine, building a city, building a town, bringing new people into that town, having a mine that's sustainable, that's more profitable for the town, for the people, rather than just leaving it as it is.
Unless your mine, is pretending to be environmentally protective.
And then you got dead fish washing
And then you
up
got
on your
dead
shores.
fish, and you got tainted water like the people in Flint, Michigan, and you got all
That's
sorts
not
of
even
stuff.
mining. That's just straight up American manufacturing right there.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say to you is this: if we decide as a country,
Alaska decides as a state.
I'm talking in general here. If we decide as a country to value profit over the lives of future generations of our lives, Brandon, because we will not be dead when these things hit,
No.
when these things hit
I
the
will
fan.
not be in Alaska.
Yeah, you won't be in Alaska, but you'll be here, and it'll be much worse here, and I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, for sure.
And it is not a winning way, even if it helps people economically for the moment. It is not a winning way to help people in the long term.
No.
To take profit over protecting the environment.
Look, I'll keep it simple on my take on this. I love California's beaches. I love California's mountains. I love California's forests. And I would do anything in my capacity as a citizen to protect those places. And I think that if Alaskans can't do it themselves, and people who care about the wildlife there, people that care about the well-being of all creatures that live in Alaska, not just humans, should stand up and fight for it.
How do you feel about an Alaskan man who disagrees with you and says that I'd rather have, another mine to work out?
I would say
I think that they're wrong.
I would say that this is not just your world, buddy. You may live in this state, but
It's their community, though.
Sure.
It's their community, but this is our planet.
Yes.
This is their planet too, but our planet.
Yeah.
And if economic interest, selfish, momentary economic issues.
Having a job.
No, Brandon, it's not though. It's not just having a job because
It's the mine investors, sure. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm not talking about the mine investors here. I'm even talking specifically about that man that you're talking about. I think that there is a greater responsibility to humanity in general, and that comes before the whatever selfish needs and selfish desires that you have in the moment in regards to that. There are other jobs that can be created in Alaska besides mining.
Like, for example, tourist attractions.
The creation of wind turbines to create green energy.
Any man with a boat can put tourists on his boat for an amount of money and go tour them around the bay and get money off that. That's a job. So I don't see this excuse of, they need jobs so badly that we need to destroy their environment in order to get it. I don't understand that point at all. I think you have valid.
Because then, well, you think about this too, Brandon. That guy's son, that mine is going to be stripped and gone by the time that guy's son is ready to work. And that guy's son doesn't deserve an equal opportunity to work like his father? Or should they just rip that land bare and ensure that his son and his grandson have nothing to work on?
Well, the idea is that you
they
reinvest
can't
it.
even drink the water.
Alaska is one of the only states that
anymore.
reinvest back in the community straight like UBI style.
Yeah.
So that's, it's nothing lasts like that. No mine has ever lasted in America, right? It's the same reason that...
And a lot of these factories have gone down too, and we destroyed the entire environment and then left the workforce there. Is that what you want for them?
Look at the Rust Belt, my guy. All those
We
guys
have
don't
to use
jobs
the
and they're
land.
pissed.
We don't.
We have to use Alaska.
We don't.
We have to build more.
We can build more, but we don't have to build mines. Why does it have to be mines?
Because there's money.
There's money in hotels too. There's money in tourist attractions. In fact, I would say there's more money in hotels than there is in mines.
No.
Well, and it's longer lasting too, because you don't reach the end of a hotel, Brandon.
You don't reach the end of nature.
Yeah.
It is beautiful and it is
It's
everlasting
beautiful forever unless you
it.
destroy it.
But is it as popular? Is it as profitable? Is it
Yes, absolutely.
Hotels?
Yes.
Hotels are the number one profitable.
Is nature popular?
Yes.
Are people really going up there enough to equalize? It's not comparable. Don't tell me hotel industry is comparable. A hotel in Alaska in the middle of nowhere is going to be as popular.
Well, not in the middle of nowhere. You would have to upgrade the cities. You would have to do things like that.
You're talking about Bristol Bay, Brandon, and that entire area. I guarantee you, is swarming with tourists during the season.
I'm talking about Anwar, actually.
Let's find out.
It's not bustling. And basically, I want to get to my third example because I think it kind of answers a lot of my points. Because I think
Young Jack, how are we on time? How are we on time on the podcast?
We're 8 minutes till 2 hours.
Okay.
that's nice.
I'm getting 1,000 to 1,500 recreational visitors spent time within the 19 million acre Arctic National Wildfire Refuge.
A month.
That's huge.
A year.
A year. That's huge. That's huge numbers. And that'll only increase if you...
1,500 people spent $400 on a hotel room.
Yes. That's how beautiful the land out in Alaska is. I suggest you look up pictures in your free time.
I was looking at pictures.
Completely knocks Mike off of stand.
Jeez, man.
Don't tell me to look at a picture after I've been looking at pictures. It's very beautiful.
Okay, yeah, then don't tell me that people wouldn't pay money to go out there and visit.
Don't talk to me about...
President Jimmy Carter sectioned off land.
I don't give a fuck about Jimmy Carter.
Environmental hero? Jimmy Carter? Progressive hero? Yes.
Yo, what?
Jimmy Carter.
I don't know. I feel like you're pulling shit out of your ass.
Okay, I don't know if he's a progressive hero, but I know
He's not even a democratic hero, my guy.
Yeah, he's a weak spot in our party. We don't talk about Jimmy Carter that
He's
much.
a good man, a nice man.
I thought he was like environmental focused.
No, he was foreign policy focused. He was all up and down the Israel problem in the 80s.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was foreign, and that's why he lost his re-election campaign, is because he didn't do anything domestically that helped anybody.
So very briefly, to contrast building a mine in Anwar, I would like to say that constructing an ecologically friendly park, an area in which people can stay.
It's a park.
I know the whole thing is a park, but I mean, like, construct an area where
we're going to have to cut some of this down.
They're not building roads.
Where humans inhabit it. I would say that, give a little area where humans can inhabit it temporarily, build a few hotels out there, get thousands of people out there that want to visit, and that's a way you could develop the area. A much smaller area and one that is much more.
I want Brandon to finish his point here, though, because I think he has a great point in his conclusion here.
Look, Alaska is a state that has voted Republican forever. These are people who have liked what they've gotten, right? Or else they would vote differently. Right or wrong?
I think that there is a great deal of misinformation.
Oh, they're dumb.
They're not dumb. That's not what I'm saying. Brandon, there's a difference between hearing and understanding and believing a lie and being dumb. When you are told over and over by the people in power that they are doing the correct thing or they are doing the right thing, you start to believe them. It's as simple as that. I don't think that you can say that the people of Alaska have chosen.
I think the people of Alaska are choosing. Even if, like you said, even if they don't know, even if they, they have to vote, like what do you think they should do? Vote Democrat? That's going to change their life?
Not to mention that Anchorage, which is one of the biggest cities in Alaska, had a 20% voter turnout in the 2016 primaries. These are people who don't vote.
I came in to disprove that. They had a 60% election turnout in 2016 after the primaries.
After the primaries?
Yeah.
So you're saying that...
So in the general election?
Yes. And the Republican
60%, what does that compare to the nationwide?
That's more than the nationwide
Yeah,
rate.
that's what I thought. Okay,
These people are voting.
Yeah, but how do you know that they're voting specifically for the environmental protection part? So when a person votes, Brandon, they vote for the interests, a lot of different interests, right?
I have to assume that Alaska votes for economic job opportunities and keeping Alaska sustainable.
Right, and they probably vote on ethical reasons too. Like there's probably a conservative populace up there that believes in conservative values.
Like pro-life, for example.
Pro-life, support of the religion, free speech, that kind of thing. So you can't assume just because they are voting Republicans who have in the past supported, anti-environmental things.
Here's what I think.
That they are anti-environmental. That's a huge leap in logic.
No. Here, I'll fill it in.
Okay.
I think that there hasn't been a party to offer them something that they need. Whatever it is, thank you. Whatever,
Jack.
Whatever the median ground between what they see is a Democrat who's going to overregulate. Like, sure, let's take it. They're listening to the lies. They're overbelieving the lies. They truly believe that there's a Democrat who is going to overregulate and permit and stop the mines and stop their jobs. They believe, and then there's a Republican who is recklessly building mines and reckless with the environment, making money off of it. And there's these two behemoths, and they feel as if the little man feels as if neither of the parties represent them.
Sure.
And it's going to become more and more obvious over time that there needs to be a middle ground who is willing to understand the need for continuing to produce here in America, which does increase pollution, increase the need for factories, like, duh.
See, but I disagree with you. And on that, I think that there is a way to produce energy in America that does not destroy the environment.
What about like building cars?
Yeah, you can build cars in a green way. Tesla does it. You could.
Well, you could talk about rare earth elements and the amount of damage that we do to mine for
dangerous.
those, but I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, you could talk about wind turbines. How many jobs that would produce? You could talk about nuclear fission and nuclear plants. How many jobs that would produce? You could talk about any number of things. Geothermal energy.
I think the numbers are
solar
different.
Solar panels have to be continuously wiped clean at
the numbers are
very
just different.
frequent intervals to continue peak efficiency power.
So there have to be people walking around and doing that.
That is working class jobs right there.
Yeah. I don't think that that's different. I think that you can take and make the same amount of money.
Mining for ore.
No, it isn't. It's production and enterprise in Alaska, and that's what you're arguing for, is production and enterprise in Alaska.
Solar energy is energy production.
Yeah, but it's production nonetheless. I don't think that there's a huge gap between mining and
energy production is not for profit.
That's probably the most ridiculous statement I've heard on this podcast
not true.
So far. I'm so sorry.
Comparable to the profit motive of a mining company.
Yeah, but what are they mining, Brandon?
Yeah, what kind of ore are they digging out? Do you know?
Oh shit! I didn't say that.
No.
Yeah, so there's oil, there's gold, there's copper, there's like other shit, but mostly gold and oil and copper.
Which is profit-based energy mining.
There's no oil. It's gold and copper.
You can't take that back.
It's gold and copper.
You can't take that back.
It's just gold and copper.
No, don't lie.
Google it.
There's oil.
The Pebble mine is a gold mine.
Jack, I agree with you.
The Pebble mine is a gold and copper mine. I think there's oil in Anwar.
Yeah, there's probably tons of oil. But what I'm trying to say to you is that is an enterprise that can be created, supported in Alaska. It's one of the most windy places on Earth. That's great for wind turbines.
This is not about wind turbines.
It's one of the most spacious places on Earth.
This is about mining.
Yeah, but it's related. That there is a certain... There are other things to do in Alaska that are not mining, and that would not be as detrimental to the environment as mining is. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And
I think the development is going to happen. The permits were signed, the permits have been passed. I think even if it's not something that's completely environmentally dangerous, like the EPA has not looked at the final solutions for the Pebble mine. I think that we need, science-based solutions, not just, ideology-based answers, which is, never build a mine again. Like they're building mines all over the world.
Yeah.
Should we never build a mine in America again? Is that how y'all feel?
No, I just think that specifically in a case where it is going to cause extreme damage to an environment that produces a lot of food, produces a lot of fresh water, is land that people live off of, I think that that's detrimental. I mean, there's places that you could build mines that wouldn't have that effect.
Or Anwar, for example, which is a space that we have reserved for creatures so that they can live peacefully
except for that one
human.
section.
Sure, I disagree with that. I disagree with that section being lauded off. I think that it's important that we have 19.6 million acres out in Alaska that's just for animals.
Yeah.
Because there are very, very few places in this world where animals aren't affected by us anymore. And that is one of those places, and I think that's beautiful. I think that's awesome. And I would support nothing being done to it. As a matter of fact, even tourism sounds like a little bit of a stretch. Just let it be.
Hey, Jack Tarman. That's very cute. But there are billionaires who don't give a fuck about you or those animals.
So what, Brandon?
They're winning.
So we do nothing. We do what you do and support them.
They're
Is that what you
winning.
want?
Joe Biden is supporting them.
And we have gone full circle, ladies and
you
gentlemen.
said
We have gone full
not
circle
even
back into Joe
5 minutes
Biden.
ago
What?
that Biden comes out
I'm talking
hard
about billionaires.
against the
I'm talking
mind.
about supporting billionaires.
But not these billionaires, my guy. Don't come at me with that shit
You
when you
guys-
say that 5 minutes earlier.
You guys have been arguing like an old married couple.
You've
this
done it
entire
too, Jack.
goddamn-
Don't
He's
leave
not in this
yourself out of
podcast.
it.
He's not in this podcast. It's just been me and you. I think that Alaskans have voted for this. And for us to sit here and get mad at them for how democracy works is, we should be getting mad at how democracy works.
I am mad at how democracy works, but that
too.
doesn't mean
Me
I
too.
am less angry about the fact that it could quite possibly destroy that environment because of selfish economic interests in the time being.
This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to use our voices. In a democracy, that's how you get shit done.
And here we are using our voices. That's the whole point of this podcast. You're going to tell me not to talk shit on the people that I'm trying to talk shit on?
I've explained it. I feel like I've explained, the people who are trying to build this mine, they want to build it as, environmentally safe as they can. Like,
Yes, indeed. We've done plenty of explaining this podcast. Plenty. So, awesome. Did you
you have anything else on that, Brandon?
do you have any conclusion statements?
I think that Alaska's going to vote Republican.
I think so too.
That's my conclusion. No matter what happens this election, California could vote blue. Alaska's going to vote red like they do. That's my update.
With their 3 electoral college votes. Yeah.
Oh, really? Only 3?
We have 55. They have 3.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, thank
Democracy.
you for sticking with us thus far. We are coming close to 2 hours and 10 minutes, I want to say.
Well, don't
Further?
read the time because we might cut some stuff, bro.
Yeah. All right.
Restart the sentence.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
something good Trump did.
All right, so we're gonna go into our final section of this podcast. It's
Can I
called
do that?
It's called the milk, and this is kind of a nice, refresher, kind of palate cleanser, so that way the stressful stuff that we talk about can kind of be washed away by some fun quips, some stuff in the news that we found humorous. Hopefully, we find it humorous for you as well. Brandon, you want to introduce the first one?
Yeah, so we got our guy, our president, Donald Trump, just passed a bill called the Great American Outdoors Act, which is, probably important to people who have showed a very strong interest in the environment. This guy passed $900 million to go to the National Conservation and Water Fund. So that's going to be $900 million to permanently fund water cleaning projects. These are the this is to literally when you go to the bathroom and it's smelly and
Okay,
hasn't
something
been
should be
cleaned.
said here.
What's up?
This is a bipartisan bill. Trump had nothing to do with it. He's just planning on signing it.
Literally, I'm glad you said that, because literally every time it says Trump signs bill, Trump passes blank, no, Senate usually passes things.
Yeah, this was sponsored by Colorado Republican Senator Cory Gardner.
Cory Gardner.
He's gardening.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically,
I don't know why that one
it provides a stable fund for our national parks, so we don't have to go to
That's great.
dirty national parks.
I love that.
I like parks.
I love that. Sign that up, Trump.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think that's awesome. And
What about the
we should-
EPA though?
What about them, bro? Oh,
Yikes. I have one. This is going to be a pretty short one. It's nothing newsworthy necessarily. This is just sort of some annual temperatures that we're finding here on the western coast. If you live anywhere on the Californian coast, listen to this. So sea temperatures are annual high, 73 degrees Fahrenheit for the month of August. So it's not going to be this warm for long. So if you like surfing, if you like to,
That's
head
awesome.
out. Yeah, it's great. That's really warm.
yeah.
That's
Except
awesome.
for all the sea life and shit that
Yeah,
can't survive in that temperature.
to go back on environmental shit, probably not very good for them. But for us, hey,
Warm water.
Grab your swim trunks, grab your tubers, grab your rafts. I know that I've been seeing people using rafts to catch waves now. That's dope. And get out there, because it's not going to be warm for this much longer.
Yee. And then we got one final story, and this was found by Jack Tarman, but I wanted to talk about it. So a California man, not a Florida man, a California man, attempting to defend his home from a wildfire, said he turned to an unusual source of help when his water was shut off. Bud Light.
Cases of Bud Light.
Cases of Bud Light.
The beer economy.
He was able to defend his home and his shop by pouring
By the ground.
Bud Light.
To make it moist.
Yeah, the alcohol content is so low that it wouldn't even, like, the wildfire wouldn't even catch.
So I have a quote here. I would like to read it.
Yeah,
That's
read
all
it,
right.
read it.
Yeah, so he says in response, my buddies all tease me about drinking water beer, and I say, hey, save my shop. So for all the enjoyers of Coors Light, Bud Light, and all that good watery beer stuff, hey, it'll save your life in a fire. That's for damn sure. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
All right, that wraps up our milk section, and we hope you enjoyed that. But we have a few thank yous to do, of course. We talked about this in the introduction, or Jack Tunney talked about this in the introduction. Jerry Perez, thank you again. This has been fun for us, and we appreciate the video equipment and all that. Also, we'd like to thank our producer, our man behind the camera, Jack Tunney.
Get over here, bud.
Get over here, bud.
Get those headphones off.
Get over here. Let's show off those glorious shorts. Show them off.
What's up, man?
Speak into the mic.
What's going on there, Bob?
You're doing great work back there, man. We
Yeah,
appreciate
he's
you.
giving us time signals. He's fact checking us. He's being a great producer, and we love him a lot. I'd also like to thank my girlfriend who left already,
Who
but
is not here
she
anymore.
clicked the button, and
Yeah,
we
she
appreciate
clicked the
that.
record button. We
She
really
clicked
need
the-
somebody
yeah,
to do
we
that.
need to do. We have trouble with that, so it was greatly appreciated. And I would like to thank all of you guys.
The boys.
Because we did it. I know it was heated. I know we had discussions, but we got here and we did this
Look.
podcast, and I'm still angry with y'all.
I am not anti-voting. I think that people should express how they feel, even if they don't know how they feel exactly.
Beautiful. You know what? I agree with that. And I think too, I'm really aggressive about this Biden stuff because I have in me that if Trump is reelected and if he is a president that is no longer, having to hold himself to the standard of the voters, which supposedly he's been doing these last 4 years.
Yeah,
Imagine what that looks like. So I'm just afraid of that, and I'm afraid of what this country will do to itself if we reelect Donald Trump. And that's why I think it's so important and pivotal for every single person who has a platform, and we do have a platform now, gentlemen, to explain to the American people how important this decision is. And that's why I talk about this the way that I do, and that's why I was so appalled with the way that you guys were talking about this, because I think it's beyond just, people can do what they want.
No.
Fuck that. We're in a situation right now.
That's not what I was saying.
That is beyond repair in a lot of cases, and we need to make change now. It's that I can't wait for 2022. I can't wait for
People
2024.
don't feel represented. They don't feel like the change that they want is going to be enacted. They don't think that Biden's going to fight hard.
And these are the conversation
Yeah, but
topics that you've heard on PB&J Podcast.
That's not what you said.
All right,
That's not
thank
what
you.
I said just now.
We'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Thank you very much for listening, guys. And
We still have to. We have
we
to
love you.
clear these things up.
We will
clear these things up.
Yeah, we will
On a
talk about
later
this more.
episode.
We will talk about these more, of course, on a later episode.
Have a great day, you guys. We'll see you very soon. Be sure to subscribe, click the
hate this
notification
guy.
bell on YouTube so that way you can keep noted on future episodes. Feel free to put down a comment on the stuff that we talked about. I'm sure you guys can get pretty heated down there, so I'm excited to see the conversations that come up. And we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
See you next week.
time.